the networking and building relationships in this industry is just what I've loved. Like, that is my true passion. If I could just wake up every day and just sell film, that's what I want to do.
Honestly, say you had a heavy influence with where we've gone. I'm just trying to obviously provide as much as I can for my company, but at the same time, provide as much as I can for the industry. Because when it comes down to it, helping the industry out in any way possible, like this industry is everything to me when it comes down to it. It provided everything for me when I was a child growing up, and now it provides everything for me and my child that I'm trying to raise right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Born To Tint Podcast with the Miller Brothers. I'm Ricky, and usually sitting next to me is my brother, Josh. He had to step out early today. He is part of this conversation. We had Kyle Fuller from Tint Pro from Georgia, one of our long-term friends that we thankfully get to network with. We had a really good conversation of how we met and just how we've networked with each other and grown from each other throughout the years. Check it out.
So I give him a 30-day net.
You're carrying material and everything.
Everything.
Smart. And that was how he put it. I put my big boy points on, whip my balls out, and I tell him, I got this. I don't need no deposit. We'll get it done. Just pay me when I'm done. I'm like
that's how I almost closed up shop. I was 3 days away from not being able to pay everything.
Yeah, well, it's definitely one of those things. But as soon as you start landing them, and then he's, like you said, his closing rate down there is.
His closing rate in Houston, I think, is where he's at. He's
college.
Well, Texas right now in general is just crazy.
That's where I'd say about 70% of my bids are right now.
No, I want to sit down with him. We were going to sit down with him during the 10 off. It's just we just didn't have time.
I have right at 60 schools ready to go as soon as the grant money comes in. So grant money comes back in June, and it's supposed to go from 45 to 70 per school.
Well, it might go up. Like I said, there was a school shooting today, unfortunately.
Yeah, Trump was talking about it, but the big thing I didn't realize is they have to use that money to pay for like resource officers and stuff like that too. Like, so when you think about safety, security, what all comes into play, but that resource officer for that school is paid for out of that as well. Well, paid for by the school, but they're using the money from the grant, so they don't have to
offset it to where they can actually push the money towards children.
Yep.
That's what that's a plus. Now, do you ever go after it in the sense of like, hey, you don't gotta do all the windows, like let's do your entry points to cut it back to where you don't gotta bite it all.
Do they
off
have
right
to
now?
in Texas? Do they gotta do every window?
Yeah, it's so whether they have to or whether they don't have to, I don't have the exact information on that. I have to where I bid everything ground level. If it's over a 7-foot door, like a standard door, I don't bid it unless they're trying to do like a tinted one. Like, so the last 3 schools that we did on all their like vestibules or entrance areas, however you want to call it, they all wanted the DX15 or TrueView 15 8mm, whatever it's. I think at that point it's just called TrueView.
TrueView, yeah.
But they all wanted that 8mm, and so, which is on national back order right now. Found that out the hard way. But they wanted that particular film, and so we did all those areas, and then it looked kind of funny, so we just did the solar film the rest of the way up.
That's right. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I was like, please don't tell me you put the safety film up there. I mean, not to teach his own, but it's like when you have the capability, thankfully, of being able to match with the solar film, it's like, hey, you can. It takes more away from the fact of when we get accused of, you're just doing this to make money. Because that's every time the one video we made of putting security film on a school, that's like all the hate we got in the comments was just people pointing out, like, you're just trying to make money off this. It's like, no, I'm just trying to help where I can, because obviously we all can agree that there's a problem. And this is going to help them not get in so quickly if something happens.
So I bid on a lot of government contracts as well, being that the base is near me. And I had this one government contract come up recently, and it was about, I'll say it's under 4,000 square foot of film, but still a very large job, like 3,000 something square feet. And it was safety film that they wanted to put on it. They wanted tinted safety film on the lower area, clear solar film, or clear security film, all 8mm. They wanted it on the upper area, but they wanted to do a daylight application. And so I was like, okay. So I looked at their verbiage in the contract, and they were like, they kept using the word bulletproof. And I was like, I'm not signing anything that says bulletproof. And so when I sent it back to them, sent them an email back, I said, hey, I don't mind taking this job on. I'm just making sure that you understand I'm a certified safety security film installer. Went through all the proper channels to make sure that I have the correct licensing to be able to sell you this product. And it was just one of those things that he kept wanting to, I would delete Bulletproof out of the email and he kept wanting to put it back in there. I was like, I won't sign off on it, nor should you.
Yeah.
And so it was at that point, I'm reaching out to the manufacturer and stuff like that. I'm like, we should not sell this product to this individual because he's false representing it.
Yep.
And I mean, this is a few years back, but that there's so much misrepresentation of what safety film can do that I try to steer clear from it. And I will put it in my words. I won't use anybody else's verbiage. But the military bases and stuff like that, there's so many just general contractors that they're just like, hey, this library needs this. And so an example, we did a library and it was a second story window. The windows were probably roughly 40 inches wide by 120 inches tall, 10 foot tall windows. And man, they would not put they wouldn't put dowel. They would not attach it. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, I will do the safety film on these windows. I'm not putting my name to it that it will work, because now if this window falls out, it's killing somebody below it because you just held this window together and let it fall. So you didn't attach it to its framing. This is probably the stupidest thing I've seen. But it's you have to make sure to go in, and if somebody gives you a contract, to reword it, and if they won't accept it the way you reword it, walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away.
Yeah, because they're just looking. Unfortunately, they'll find someone that will accept it, and that's the downfall. Because when that happens, and if something catastrophic does happen, that just hurts our industry.
Oh yeah,
like the rioting and stuff during what was it? George Floyd, with seeing all the government buildings, seeing all the windows is caving in.
Atlanta,
and people are like,
City,
oh, it didn't do anything. I said, well, it probably wasn't properly installed, or wasn't installed for that intention when it comes down to it. So don't criticize the product, especially not knowing if it was installed properly or not.
Well, too, the product's only supposed to be able to slow down, so like even in third-party testing, they're saying, hey, we're giving you like 90 seconds to get to a safer area. So in a riot situation where you hit that window as hard as you possibly can, you come back a few minutes later, you hit that window as hard as you possibly can, then, they're recording me now. I go and hit the window as hard as I can, and that window goes down. It was doing its job, but I mean, it can only take so much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, without a doubt. No, it was nice to have you come out, man.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, last time we tried to do a podcast, we got cut a little bit short, and
just a little bit.
My first podcast, I had no clue what we were even supposed to be talking about. I just wung it.
Dude, either did we. We were in the same boat, going back and listening to the beginning ones, and it, a little bit rougher to listen to, but at the same time, like anything, when it comes down to it, repetition. Do it again, again, again. That's how you get better at something. Same thing when it comes to tinning. We teach you the steps of tinning, but you're not going to be a good tinner until you do it over and over and over again and start figuring out, well, all right, I had this issue because I did this. Okay, let me not do that again, or let me try doing it this way. Like when it comes to teaching in general, that's what we're trying to figure out right now. Like how I install is completely different from how he installs. Like I'm already getting criticism of how I'm teaching some of the people, and he's like, oh, that's microfibers, not paper towels, or squeegee this way, that way. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like I know what works for me, but I also know what works for him because he's the same caliber tinner. But there are certain things that you're going to do that. Yeah, same caliber, but I didn't say like same ranking though. Did we grab the trophies? We did. Okay, good. All right, I just want to make sure we can count those off. But
this is what I got to deal with.
He brings it on himself. Yeah, he wants me.
I've never competed, so I have no dog in the fight.
You are holding. First off, let's. WFR.
You just changed it all now.
WFR.
Okay.
Are we going to compete together?
When is it? I forget the
March.
dates.
And which I still got to make sure I can even do it because I have. Okay. I got to check the dates of it running against the fact I have.
If we're going to do it, we need to start. We need to start using the same product that we're going to be able to use to do it. Because
I will use whatever you want to use.
I'm just saying, but I need to practice with whatever I'm going to be installing. So.
used to being a utility knife in the fact of you tell me what you're comfortable with. I want to be the support system.
Yeah.
I know what you're good with. Not saying that you're not going to, if I tell you, hey, we're going to use active, not to say that, yeah, I know you'll put the reps in, but I want to use what you're more comfortable with.
Are you guys doing paint protection together? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I still got to talk to Cash because they added a bunch. They added like 2 more categories. So it's like kind of like, I want to find out what's the Ironman then? Because last year it was like you had to do all 5 to do the complete Ironman, or you did the 3 main categories, which was flat glass, team auto, individual auto. That was the 3-peat. And then you had the 5-peat, which was throwing in the windshield and the clear bra teams.
See, like on auto, I don't care what film I use on auto.
I do. I figured that out during that competition.
Okay.
What I ran out of, because God forbid, all I had to do was do 2 quarter windows, and I knew for some reason like I'm going to screw myself and I'm going to screw up on these. And it's just like I was trying to be overly particular. There were probably at least 2 sticks where I should have just left it, and I was trying to be too picky. But it's like I have an hour to make sure I have the 2 best quarter windows imaginable. So I just kept like working on them. I ended up either I misplaced where my extra film was, and like there was this piece of film laying on the ground. I'm pretty sure it was from the other people on the other side installing, and it wasn't a film I was used to. Everything cut. When I went to go squeegee it, I had glue smears through my film because either the tack wasn't right, and I've never squeegeed this film before, and like I just moved it and it smeared the glue. Like I got it in there perfect, no dirt or nothing, but as soon as I squeegee, I saw the glue smears, and we were already bumping up like 5 minutes left, and it's like, well, this has to stay. It has to stay. So I was like,
it's completed at least.
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm not sure whose film it was because I put it on looking at the color of it. I'm like, this is definitely not my film.
Not it.
And this isn't Rick or Les's either because this doesn't look like Lumar and this does not look like Expel. So yeah, it's to a point. Yes, I will agree with that. Most films, we should be able to manage.
I would
those.
feel more confident on the auto side with any film just as long as I have my tools because, like we talked about earlier, everyone uses different tools. Whether it's a triangle or chiseler, the type of squeegee you use. I mean, that when it comes down to doing something in time with quality, you just need your tools.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could hand me your tools. I've never used that set together, and I'm going to be sitting over here just like, all right, it's my first day. But
I think you do better than you think. But I get what you're saying. The ease of knowing what tools are in your hand and what you're using really doesn't mean like, for me, like squeegeeing flat glass, I use the 1-inch power blade. Like
I think the mental side of it for me, just never competing. I don't want everyone competes to win. Obviously, if you're not competing, okay, and winning to an individual might just be getting better, might be tinting around. You might be a newbie tinting around professionals, and like he learned so much that he went back home and he killed it, right? So I mean, there's a different. But when you get to this level where I've been tinting 24 years, I don't want to show up and look like I haven't tinted windows before.
Yeah,
I want to show up thinking, all right, like there's a possibility I have this. This could be my competition to win.
Well, beyond WFR, you're gonna hop into WFCT. When did you hop in some flat glass? Come on,
so
we need a challenge.
Yeah. So this year, just to kind of talk about it a little bit, I haven't tinted really any windows this year except for the difficult ones, like I got a good group of guys that are in my shop. They're killing it. They're couldn't ask for a better scenario, but there's still windows that they just haven't gotten since they've been a team. Yep. And so a C6 back window, or a Model 3 back window. Just some of the more difficult windows. Those are the only windows that I've tinted this year, and I tinted them in like a training session. It's like, all right, you guys all watch me. This is what we're gonna do. This is why I'm doing it, so that you can do the next one or you can do the next one. Like I don't want to have to still do these all the time. Yeah. So, but I have not tinted this year. So
the first time I ever won, I put up 200 square feet in flat glass.
Yeah.
You'll be just fine. You've been installing long enough to where
if I know I'm going to
rush, and it's like riding a bike. You know that.
As soon as I say yes, I will be in the back of the shop getting my reps in, making sure that I'm ready to go. So the only thing that I've stepped over to this year, as far as install wise, has been the paint protection film. It's been a huge add to our shop because we do all the ceramic coatings and we do all the paint corrections and stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of bundling
Yeah.
So car comes in, it's doing full paint correction, ceramic coating, doing full window tint, usually with the windshield, ceramic, everything, and then full front paint protection. Full front is literally hood, fender, mirrors, headlights on the headlights that you can do it on, A-pillars, mirror caps, just literally everything facing forward. Sometimes they'll upgrade to a rocker kit, and then every now and again, just in our area, we'll get a full body. So a lot of stealth full bodies, like just the matte finish. So, but that's kind of where I've spent my energy. But no, this year, just to kind of explain it to, I guess, just the tint community, but like the biggest thing we've done is the majority of us are small business owners, right? Like your business is generational. It's been open for a long time, being that your dad, you guys, like, this business could potentially be here for your kids. My business is something I started tinting in 2001, opened up my storefront, like an official storefront, did everything the legal way, got insurance, all the important stuff. Back in, I'd say 2013. So we've been open as a storefront for 11 years this year. But the whole entire goal after March will be 24 years I've been doing this, I want to figure out an exit plan. And I love the industry, but I want to figure out how to not have to install anymore. I have an extreme passion for selling. I like to go and make connections. I like to go to trade shows. I like to meet people in different industries and figure out how to connect the dots to where I can perform a service for them, whether it's a solar, whether it's safety, security, like that is my passion as of now. I really enjoy networking and conversating and getting that type of stuff, but I'm selling a good portion of my company to my main employees, and I'm going to let them have a piece of the pie. Yeah. And by doing that, it's going to make them accountable for everything moving forward so that I have the physical ability to step away from the labor and grow the company. Just do what I do best, right? So I did a proof of concept last year, and I stepped away from the company in a few aspects. And what I went out and sold had a higher net profit than what we brought in going to work every single day. Me putting in, my 40 plus hours a week, I made more money just going out and selling projects and going after it that way. So that's my sole focus this coming up year is networking, going after everything that I've seen and just left on the table. So, but it's going to be an interesting year being this far in. So
a long way from that.
Oh, he's got it. I don't have mine on me. Mine is in my bag, so I just got coined. So this right here is a challenge coin, and I live in a military community, and I was trying to find a way to set myself apart. Everything I try to do different from my local competitors, you'd say, So in the military, they have a challenge coin, and what happens is, say, like you meet somebody significant in a military branch, you do some work for them, you have an achievement, usually say, you're an airman or something, a general will coin you, give you the coin, and it's a way of acknowledging your achievements. And then what you do in my particular scenario, and I could be saying this wrong to a point, but you would take your challenge coin, say you're at the bar with your buddies that night, you're at the bar with the buddies that night, you'll go and you'll take your challenge coin, you might throw it out on the counter, and your other buddy that's supposed to have a coin on him doesn't. Now he owes you a drink. Or if he has his coin, you now owe him a drink. So like right now, he coined me. So apparently I'm going to have to drink up a little bit.
Oh, man. If I would have known about this, I'd be winning this one. I got a General Petraeus challenge coin. I've got a bunch of them.
I don't know. I think that one holds some weight right there.
What's that?
This is Dealer of the Year for Panorama Solar Guard 2017.
Oh, is that yours?
Yeah, it was mine.
He gave that to me when we first met.
So
nice.
Yeah, just kind of throw back too.
I mean, there's no rank on that, so.
The top, man. I'm the elite, right?
If anything, I should have planned out better. I should have actually had ones made for us because that's one thing we actually ended up taking this year was dealer of the year, which I talked to Kevin about it, or Kevin reached out to me because I asked Steve just because I want to know what the criteria was. I think me and you had this conversation too.
They sent me an email. They sent me an email and explained too, because I won not their award. They won the highest award this year. I probably placed 6th on the totem pole, but I still got a plaque. I'm happy. So,
but yeah, no, it's I like the criteria they gave out. It had to do with your personal growth within the company, yes. How much you've purchased, and then what you've also given back or technically have done for, I guess, the industry or for actually the Panorama Pro network of stuff like that. And to where I like the way Kevin laid it out, because then it actually makes it to where you just don't think like, oh, whoever the biggest guy is, he's always going to win because he's buying the most. It's how much did you increase your company? How much did you grow your company? If you grow your company significantly more than the big guy still had a great year, but you grew yourself more.
It's harder. It's harder to gain that percentage gap. So
without it.
When you're 20 years in and you're established and you're working at your max capacity, for you to have a 10% growth is amazing. Like
that's where I was kind of surprised looking at our numbers, and when we actually saw it, like I was like, oh damn! I think from previous year we doubled what we purchased, which I didn't even realize until I looked at the sheet, and I was like, oh, that's good. Like that's net positive.
Yeah. So. On my automotive side, I stick with one product, but on all my flat glass side, I am with another. So it's like my total purchases looked really pretty. So
yeah, and that's what. But I mean, when it comes down to, that's what really matters. You know, it's if you're able to, the point is servicing our customers' needs when it comes down to it. Like obviously, try to stay as brand loyal as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't come down to where if it comes down to the detriment of selling my customers something that's not going to fit their exact needs, then I'm purchasing whatever I need to purchase to make my customer happy, because that's the end goal. That's what I care about, is what they need to have done. Now, if I have that product within the lines I'm selling, of course, that's what I'm going to push out, because I know what that company stands for. That's why we've been partnering with them for so long. But if they don't produce something, and which that's one thing I've always loved about Solar Guard, is when it does come down to it, they're not going to beat you up about something like that. It's going to be more likely, well, we don't make that product, so what are we going to do about it? Like you hope that something gets, like they start making a product like that, or start approaching how they can solve that problem. Yeah. But beyond that, they're not going to hassle you in the fact that, well, you can't sell that. It's like, well, you don't sell it. They do. That's where I'm purchasing it from. And unless you want to come up with a solution that's going to allow me to do that, I don't know what to tell you.
I have to get the job done at the end of the day. So top that off for me.
I got some more.
What's funny is the whole challenge coin thing. I got a bunch of them, and the whole time I was in the military, every time we ever went out drinking, nobody's ever like pulled. It's like a tradition that maybe existed in the past, but nobody still does it.
So how I used the challenge coin was when my dad won 12 outstanding airmen of the Air Force in 97. It's 12 people in the whole Air Force win it a year. It's one of the highest achievement awards you can win, and it was just really cool that he got that. And so what I did, or actually he did it for me, was, he wanted me to be proud of what I did. I won the highest thing I could win with my brand in 17. Like, it doesn't go any higher. You guys got it this year, and congratulations on that. But that's, there's nothing above that you can win. And so from that point of view, my dad made me a challenge coin just because he was really proud of my achievements, and it was just an amazing thing. And so when I started going to house jobs, talking about consultations, closing stuff, whatnot, I went to my first job, and I had a couple coins with me, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to use them. So it was like a retired officer in the military. He'd been retired probably 15, 20 years. He had a shadow box, which is, all his achievements from the military presented so that his friends and family, when they come in his home, they can see it. And so the older generation, everybody wants a business card. We're moving away from it. I have a dot business card. I pull it out of my pocket. I'm like, scan me. That's what I do. So I don't have to carry 20 business cards. And I like the business cards I have, but I'm not carrying that many on me. And so at the end of it, I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I pulled out my challenge coin. I just happened to have one in my pocket. And I said, this is me. This is my company. And so I was ready to leave, but it created a very short conversation. He's like, are you previous military? I'm like, no, my dad's retired chief. I'm not the military person, but my dad did this for me. This is the highest thing you win. Super proud of it. And it just created that conversation. Before I got to the shop, he called my office and scheduled the job. And I will say, every time that there's been a moment where I have given out my coin in a setting like that, we always close the job. Yeah. And so it's just, you're kind of speaking to someone at their level, acknowledging, because at that point he acknowledged I came into his home and I respected what his career was, and I'm not trying to take any clout. Like, I'm not military. I'm a military brat, but it's just, I grew up in I'm still in a military town, and we can make that connection, So it's setting myself apart from the next person. And, it's just, that's that.
Oh no, it's a nice it's a nice added touch when it comes down to it.
Cheers. Throw your cup in there.
Yeah, I got the coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
Like y'all.
I actually just had a customer recently. It's funny because I went to school with his son. I recognized the last name when I went to give the bid, and turns out he's a Marine veteran who then worked at a couple different fire departments and stuff here in town. And he actually gave me a coin from the fire department.
They're starting to get a lot more popular now. Yeah. So my dad worked in NASCAR, and in the NASCAR community, Carl Edwards had coins for all his different achievements. He had like ones of him doing backflips, and then, for the manufacturers, like when they would come and do their walkarounds, he would coin different people inside that manufacturer. And, it's just, it's a cool interaction, right? It's instead of handing someone a business card and walking out their door, they place it on their counter when you leave. Kids come home, move stuff around. Where'd that business card go? Who was here? What was the bid? So it was a game changer for me on the way that I started networking with local customers. But I always just try to think outside the box. I don't want to to an extent, everyone has to do the basics the same. Yeah. But it's how do you set yourself aside?
Oh no, and from my perspective, you've always done that extremely well. When you collabed with Sid, you guys had that project, but beyond that, you've always been very open and approached as many people as possible when it comes to the panorama meetings, the tint offs, or anything like that. And you're just, from what I see, is curious, and then you spark the conversation, and then you're really good at pooling certain people together. You created our own little network that we have between me, you, Sid, Sal was out at your opening.
Mad Cow
was out there. Yeah. Who else?
Kyle from Pennsylvania, Black Diamond.
Yeah, Black Diamond.
Yeah. And he's a retired police officer. Yeah. So what's crazy, so when you think about the tint industry, you don't think about what some of these people did other than window tint. I always like to give them a shout out just because I think it's amazing. Yeah. But just in our little network of just people we just mentioned, but one of the people in there has a Grammy. He's a musician that has a Grammy, but he also tints with us. Sal.
Does he have a Grammy?
Sal has a Grammy.
How did I not know that?
I don't know.
Makes sense.
It's in music history forever.
And he's a yo-yo phenom too. Have you seen that?
But he's honestly just one of the most amazing people.
Oh yeah.
I always tell people when how you know who your friends are, and we all live across the country from each other. Like I just flew 4.5 hours out here to be here, just so I can hang out with these guys and collab with them. But Sal lives in Texas, and he's absolutely amazing. But it's one of those things that when it gets quiet, who's there, who reaches out, and Sal has just always been there. He's always just been an amazing friend. Sal and Michelle. You gotta give as much credit. Michelle, I love Michelle too. Whenever I go to conferences in Texas, I always make it a point. I'll go and stay with them for a day, and we'll go out on the town and do things that have nothing to do with window tint, whether it's putt or just whatever. And you got Kyle at Black Diamond. He's a retired cop. And what I love too is everyone's scale of their business is at a different level. Yeah. And all we try to do is level each other up. Yep. I want to give you as much information as I can because you're not in my back door. I want to see you if you're below me as far as revenue or just whatever, employees or, that that aspect. I want to, if you want to, get you to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force it on you. You know, I mean, there's a lot of respect in being small, and you get a lot of free time back.
Yes.
But then, like, when I met you guys were already, I'd say 2 or 3 times the size of my company. And so I was like, man, I don't know how to get to the next level. Like, I was stuck. I had a couple people. I was stuck in my square footage. I was stuck in my mental capacity. I was like, I don't know how to get to the next level. And then I was just like, hey, can I come out to your shop and tint or just watch you guys? And I literally just had a Vegas vacation. I came out here on my Vegas vacation, left everybody I was with at the Strip. I came here and I worked and had a blast.
Yeah.
And I took all of it home. I implicated the things that I learned, and it got me to the next level. So I give you guys as much credit as you guys give me. Like, I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, I have the best conversations with my network.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, you know. John Mad Cow Hemble, you know, he had the way he sells film, the way that he holds himself and stuff like that. Like, he's been an amazing mentor. Like, just having conversations with him and talking to him about how he approaches a product. Like, the area that he lived in Colorado, the most expensive product that we have to sell is all he sold. And you come to my town, I can't move it. I can't move a roll of it.
Yeah.
And after conversating with him, you know, I sold a couple pretty serious jobs because I used his approach. And it was just very beneficial to have that conversation. And he's the world's fastest downhill skier.
No.
You know? And he's got watches named after him. He's badass. Like, John, I love you. But I think he's a professional rock crawler right now too. He just likes danger, I guess. But I fall down and get hurt. Like, yeah, I'm good.
No, it's a greatest thing is like it's an extension of the Panorama Network when it comes down to it. Like, the same concept, should I say, not an extension of it, but it's the same concept of it. That's why having it, I mean, that almost goes to say, I would think with most majority of those dealer meetings, there are connections that are made. You always go to the dealer meetings, and then you leave those dealer meetings like, amped. Like, because you have so many different conversations with how someone might be doing something a little bit different. I mean, let alone today, like we had you tint one of the windows, seeing how you trim your corners for the sunburst, like use just simple as putting the chiseler underneath to do it like that, like makes all the sense in the world.
Never just got to do something on the fly. We didn't have a better scenario.
Yeah, I've never thought of that before, and it's like. That is like the easiest way, because usually it would just be like I'd hold it off the ground and kind of just wing it. But that being able to fold that in half and then drag it like that, you have much more control of what you're cutting off. And like I love doing things like this because of small little tips and tricks like that. Because now I get to pass that along to our guys.
Well, when it comes to window tint too, like whether you're dry shrinking, wet shrinking, whether you're using a torch, whether you're using a heat gun, whatever it is, you honestly want to perfect one. But learn them all. Yes. Because there's so many windows that like you sit there and try, like, why did I crease? I'm on my 3rd attempt. Why on the first 2 did I crease this window? And you're like, wait, let's just change it up. We were dry shrinking, now let's wet shrink it. Yep. Let's pull and heat and you know, change everything about it, you know? And hopefully you get it on that 3rd go. But it's you have to have more than one way to get out of a situation. You know? So But no, like going back to like the group of people that we surround ourselves with, and I know you guys got multiple people. Like I see all your conversations, especially since the podcast. You know a lot of people that I don't know. I know a lot of people that you don't know. And, you know, over the next couple of years, it's going to be great because we have conversations all the time, and I'm like, hey, how do I do this? And I'm like, call this guy. Yep. And I don't have the answer for you necessarily, but I know who has the answer. Yep. So, and that's one of my favorite parts. Like Sid and Josh out in Genesis in Sacramento, they were the first people when I came to a tint off. I started going tint offs, I think, in 2016. I didn't know about them before. Like I'd never even heard of one before. I just tinting windows in my small town. I was not self-taught, but, you know, taught inside a shop, and that's all we knew, right? Yeah. So I go to this international conference, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I just remember seeing Sid up on this panel, and like when Sid talks, man, oh my God, I'll buy whatever he's selling. I don't like, he could sell me my own stuff back. I don't even know. Like he just gets to talking, and you can't help but love it.
Yes.
And but he was nice enough. He was sitting up on a panel, one of those. Everybody's got the mic. You can ask him questions. Drawing a blank on what they call those.
A panel?
No.
Yeah, it's like a Q&A. Yeah, so y'all track. You're tracking. But no, he was up there, and when he came down, I was just sitting there. I had my business card out and everything. Like, this dude's just all like on this pedestal to me. I'm like, hey, do you have a minute? Can I talk to you? Like, I saw your he was like the first episode of like the Tint TV when Casey did them. And so I was like, I watched your episode. I'm seeing you on stage now. Like, I'm like in Tint heaven. Like, we're walking down the elevator talking. He's like, hey, man, I really like the way this conversation's going. We're going to be here at this time later. Just meet up with us. Ended up going out with him, created this great network with us. And, you know, it was from that moment. Like, I started tinting windows from Georgia to California, New York City, been in Oregon, been in Texas, been in all the Carolinas, Virginia. Like I have a small shop in middle Georgia, and I'm tinting everywhere. But it was that leap, that conversation that even led me to come to your shop when I came out to Vegas. I'm like, I saw you guys. I didn't really know you that well. I think me and Josh had the first conversation. We were walking around the trade show floor, and I was just like picking your brain on certain things. And we just had, you know, we just hit it off. And next thing you know, I was like, all right, when I go to Vegas.
You just popped up and like, hey, your brother told me to come by.
Well, I was like, come on back. I could have went gambling. I could have went to the strip club. I could have went anywhere. But I came to Tint Windows. So
no, you came in the back. We sparked up a conversation. You're like, I can tint something. I was like, sure. I think we might have been short staffed that day.
It was old like F Series 250 because you did like some blade click trick or something on the back
window. Yeah.
And I was just sitting there. I was like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And then you guys weren't pulling seals, and I was like, I was like, whew. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, like, but just because it's not your common practice, not saying you couldn't do it. It's just like, it was just one of those things. I was like, I'm in there, and like, I didn't want to burden your day. I didn't want to like leave early, but I was like, all right, squeegee, conqueror, scrubby pad. I'm just sitting there tinting windows. You're tinting the back. We're still just talking. We're still chatting, and I'm like, this was about right here. This is.
No, I definitely wish we would have had.
Is that the back window where you can break the blade off and shove it? Yeah,
F250s and above. Super nice.
I haven't done one of those in forever, but that works so good. It's crazy.
Never seen it before. That blew my mind that day. I was sitting there. I was like that one little trick. I'm like, this is why I came. Well, you know,
I had one of those come back for a warranty purpose, and I wasn't in the shop at the time.
Nightmare to get it off.
Well, no, it's just like. One of our guys walked out and looked at the window, and he was like, oh, no, we didn't do that because one of the blades, because what can happen is if you don't push it back far enough, it can eke its way out. So they kind of like a blade sticking out. They're like, oh, we didn't do this. And they called me. I'm like, no, we did that. Let me explain to you what we did. And then I explained to them. I'm pretty sure I was here when we redid it, and I showed them. I was like, it just didn't get pushed back far enough. And I explained them to them, like, this is how you do this. If you want to do this window without having to put puffy or marker or anything around the edge or not leave a gap, this is how you do it. Make your pattern a little bit bigger. Break a blade off all the way around to where you can just slide it back in there, and you'll make everything. It takes longer to do, but it turns out clean.
Yeah.
Still so difficult though.
I was very happy when they stopped making those back windows. When all of a sudden they came out with black border, I was like, finally, Ford, you joined everyone else in existence of making a black border back window. Like, why are we putting hard plastic on our windows? That makes no sense. Like, this is the most pain-ass thing in the world. Like. But, you know, there's one thing we're able to separate ourselves from the competition is do a window like that. Like I've had installers come in where it's like I asked them, like when they first start working, like, you good with this? Oh yeah, I go in and I perfectly seal the edge with some puffy, and you don't even see it. And then it's like I let them do it, and then I go back and I look at it. I'm like, no, no, rip it off instantly, rip it off, and then the excuses kind of roll in. Well, because of this, I'm like, nope, I'm sorry, and I think while I was telling this guy this, I was definitely younger and not as eloquent.
Clearly still aren't.
Yeah, whatever. With how I was explaining it to him. But what pissed me off is just his at the moment, how sure he was that I was wrong and that I couldn't do it better and it was going to take too long. I was like, okay, hold my beer. And within like 20 minutes, or 20, 30 minutes, I stripped it, retinted it, did it my way, and I walked out of the car. That's how it's supposed to be done. I walked away. It's definitely probably a little bit of a dick at the moment, but it just, I wasn't. And this was a gentleman too that had told me that, like, just wait till you get older. You know, spray bottles are gonna make your wrist hurt. And I was like, dude, I know I'm younger than you, but I've been tinting for like 6 years longer than you. My wrists are fine. Don't hit me with that bullshit. Like, that's this nonsense. Like, control your water when you're spraying. This is when the air tanks were just coming into existence, where they were being more popular.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's using it, which I got no problem with using a tank or anything like that when it comes to cars. It's just watch where you're spraying. Like, we're in two sides of the shop, and I'm working on a car on the one side, and I just wiped down my whole car, and like, you're spraying your window, and you just cover the side of my car with water. I just wiped it down. I'm about to pull it out. And I wipe my whole car down again. Like, how do you spray water all the way the hell over there when your window's back on the other side? Like,
we still use bottles on all automotive, but on paint protection film and flat glass, I use the backpack. So
I tell all my installers for auto, if you guys want a spray system, I'll get it for you. But I'm telling you right now, with how much water those things dump out, if you overload a door or a windshield or anything like that, and you oversaturate with water, and it's because you're just spraying willy-nilly, like, I'm not going to back the fact that you just torch someone's car. Like, with the spray bottle, you can put the exact amount of water you need on the vehicle. Now, paint protection and flat glass, yes, that was an easy thing to cave to, realizing that, I have 8 spray bottles with me, and it's taking me 2 spray bottles to do like 5 by 10.
Anytime you're off the ground too, like, oh my God, not having to hang stuff off your belt, your pockets, off the ladder, it can all fall. You get in that moment, you reach for it, you knock it over, you're like, oh man.
Yeah, that's where the backpack systems.
The Tint Buster or the True Spray, either one of them, like, those things were like to me, that's where it makes the most sense for having the True Spray, True Active. Or the Tint Buster, like, that makes all the sense in the world, going up to the top windows. I mean, even when it comes down to you doing a 4x8 slider, like having a tank, like, why make your life harder?
Water's king on a hot window.
Yes, absolutely.
It is what it is.
Yep. No, and I definitely took a while to cave to that, because we had a guy who always had the pump, just the hand pump ones.
Yeah.
And it was 3 gallon, and I was always like, oh, you don't need that. And then everyone like realized,
they all made fun of me when I got a 5 gallon tank and was airing it up. It's like, all right, well, it's a lot more water. It lasts longer.
I did the tank for a while. I just, every particular scenario needs a different solution, right? Like, if you're tinting in direct sun, you need more soap. If you're tinting in shade, you need less soap.
Yeah, that's where having to air it up sucked. So now that you got the electric tanks, they're way better.
Yeah. No,
that was why making the jump to that for me was like, okay, cool. How many times have we had to switch our solution, and then you got to let the air out, change the solution?
I carried a little mini air compressor.
Yeah. So
but there's so many people that will air up at the shop and then leave for the day. And if you have to adjust your solution, you're done.
You're going to the gas station.
Yeah.
Repressurize your tank.
Yeah, I had to do that a couple times until I got the inflator. I think that was actually your advice, and I went and found actually the one that I got probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still rocking good.
That one got lost. We bought the same one though. I know what you're talking about.
The DeWalt?
Yeah, we've replaced it, unfortunately.
No.
Yes.
I went Milwaukee.
I would have went Milwaukee too.
My tool. So
it was just what was available at Home Depot. I'm pretty sure either way it lasted a really long time.
No, it didn't. We didn't replace it because it stopped working. We replaced it because it got misplaced.
So I started using red stuff back in the early times of doing this, because any construction site you went on, any school you went in, everyone had yellow.
Yep.
And so when my yellow stuff started walking off, like you'll go to lunch and come back and you just didn't lock your stuff up. You left it in a classroom. You thought it was safe. You put all your tools next to your ladder, your film handler or whatnot. And you come in and you have no batteries. Like, they didn't take the drill. They just took all the batteries. Yeah. And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can Sharpie all you want on anything. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to start getting red.
I did the exact same thing because of my dad. My dad always bought DeWalt. So I went Milwaukee. So I didn't have to hear, is that mine? I'm like, no, it's red. It's mine. Like 100%. That's my drill. That's all my stuff. When I got to the point I could buy
best tape measure. The tape measure I use now is the Milwaukee that you can put that thing out like 17 feet and it won't fall.
Oh yeah.
So getting anything up high, it's
need
great.
to roll up into that tape measure challenge. And when the next thing's just my Milwaukee and just.
That's why you had to use the one that he was providing.
Yeah. Just take.
But they still maxed that out. There was like 3 people that went 25 feet without it collapsing.
So what's funny about that is I have pictures from back in the day of me and my friends like in the house, like when we're just bored. You know, it's a rainy day, can't go nowhere. We're car guys. We're not going to go out and drive our freshly clean cars or nothing. So we'd get tape measures out and just like, you know, it was 12, 13 foot to the ceiling with these like, they're not like they are now. You know, it's not a Fat Max or whatever it is. But you just go out and like it's arced all the way. Then you go outside and like you're catching wind and you're like, all right, I got it. But I just got some funny pictures from that. So when they started doing that at the conference, I was like,
yeah, it was such a smart idea.
I think I can do that.
That was a clever idea to get people over to the booth, like especially for the amount of prize money. It was insane.
Well, I mean, now like last year at WCT, they Tint Wiz did the ping pong.
He's done that a couple years in a row now.
Has he done?
Yeah. He did that the same year he did the tape measure one. He did that also.
He didn't do that
to win a tank.
But he didn't do that in Virginia Beach though.
There was a tape measure there.
It was both.
Was it?
Yeah, they had the ping pong for the tank. It was just while we were competing.
Talking about conferences, though, I think one of the cool things is we have a completely different experience at the conferences. Like you guys compete, and every time that I'm like walking through or something like that, I'm trying to catch up with y'all. Like, all right, so what happened? You know, who did what? Whose heat is it? Who's going next? Like that type of thing. Since I started going to the conferences and I was able to level up my business, and I learned a lot. Like I'm not a know-it-all. I don't, you know, I'm willing to learn every single day. But I had grown so fast. I think at one point I was like the 7th fastest growing company in the United States. And based on, you know, numbers turned in or whatever. But I just wanted to start giving back. Like I love the networking side. I love this part of what we do. I still get enjoyment out of tinting my buddy's car or doing PPF on my buddy's car. I just did both of my parents' vehicles in PPF and did some cool things to them. Got real excited about that because it's my parents' stuff. But you know, I just don't want to do every car that comes in. I'm over that after 20-something years. I'm just, I want to find something that interests me more. But at the conferences, I'd say over the past 5 years, like I did like a intro to window film seminar at those. And then when I stopped doing the seminars, I started working the EDTM booth, you know, all the meters and things like that. And I do that with Mark. And what has been like the coolest thing for me is I'm always wanting to learn. Like I want to figure out how to go into a room against my competitor, and I just want to figure out how to trump you. Like I want to destroy you in that room. Like we're in the cage, man. Like I'm going to be completely respectful. I never will talk negative about a competitor or anything, but I want to let you do your spiel, and then I want to figure out how to come in there and take it. I just want to take it, you know.
This is a damn good idea. That's one of the ways. That's always one thing I definitely have admired of your ability to come up with things like this. Those little things that will give you the edge when it comes down to it. And like something like this, the fact that if you walk into a military house home and you drop one of these, like,
so too, like getting out into like the flat glass world. On the automotive side, you know, if they come to your store, you sell them on customer service and quality. That's what you have. But getting into the flat glass world, there's just so much to where one of my favorite things, like Mark, he's been an amazing mentor with all the meters and letting me understand them, kind of getting behind the scenes on that type stuff and just learning what our industry has to offer. But the biggest takeaway I have is like he took me to not only window film shows but glass trade shows, and all of these meters and stuff like that are the ones that governments and all the manufacturers use in the glass world. And so I've done ride-alongs with my local glass companies, because you should always make a connection with a local glass company. You have to have one.
Yeah.
But I did ride-alongs with my local glass company, understanding how they put film in a commercial building. Like when they walk, they just take their suction cups, walk over. That low E coating can be flipped the wrong way. They're just installing it. They're ready to go. Yeah. So you might have a set of 7 windows installed, and there's potentially 2 of them that are flipped the wrong way, you know? But networking with them, going to the glass trade shows, going to air conditioning trade shows, just finding out how to, like, I learned how to load test a house, you know, so it's like talking about what we were talking about earlier. Like if I don't have the solution, I want to be able to at least direct you in the right direction of how you can get it taken care of. So with an air conditioner company, I'm going to just say, hey, I know my window film can't fix it based on these details. I'm not going to really get into it with the customer, but this is just what I know about it. Do you guys want to come out and do an assessment and see if it's something that you can fix? Whether it's, you know, duct work, whether it's, you know, they did an addition and there's just not enough airflow coming out because they rediverted it somewhere else, or just whatever the situation is. So you want to become a solutionist. You know, you want to learn everything that you need to know about, honestly, blinds and stuff too, like window blinds. You know, there's a lot of window film companies that team up with blind companies, and the other half of the industry hates blinds.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can't fix it with window film, why not get someone reputable that's not going to talk negatively about your product, but go out there and just give them a fix and a solution, and then everybody's happy. You know, you don't have to turn anything into a negative. You're just not going to win them all.
Yeah.
No, especially because if you
provide as much value as possible, have as many solutions as possible for the problems your customer might possibly have.
Yeah.
Because providing a solution for that customer, like, yeah, you might not tint anything, but you help them provide a solution for them. Like, guess who they're going to recommend when it comes down to it? Say they have someone who, in their eyes, like, you know what, I think tint would, you know, I tried using
family,
tint.
coworkers. They're going to recommend the next person that's talking about house tint because you just didn't take their money and run.
Yeah. Well, and building that relationship with the window covering company, they're going to have customers that maybe their window coverings aren't the solution, right?
Yep. So then you get referenced out, but you just the networking and building relationships in this industry is just what I've loved. Like, that is my true passion. If I could just wake up every day and just sell film, that's what I want to do.
I mean, I honestly say you had a heavy influence with where we've gone. Like, realizing that, hey, I'm definitely I'm finally kind of reached that point now where I'm just trying to obviously provide as much as I can for my company, but at the same time provide as much as I can for the industry. Because when it comes down to it, like, helping the industry out in any way possible, like, this industry is everything to me when it comes down to it. It provided everything for me when I was a child growing up, and now it provides everything for me and my child that I'm trying to raise right now. It provides everything for us.
Yeah.
You know, so now it's just like, even with like the academy, of course, like, it's another, I looked at it as another revenue stream when it does come down to it, because I'm in business to make money.
If you don't make money, it don't make sense.
Yeah. And then, but at the same time, like, if I can give anything back to help this industry grow, like, I absolutely want to. Like, well,
and that's one of the reasons too why I like to be here, because like, you guys have a huge social media presence. I don't advertise. Excuse me. Like, you know, I'm missing the boat on a lot of things. A lot of people are going to destroy me, but like, we're at max capacity without advertising. And so, I mean, we have a Facebook page that we post like once every 3 months. It's usually a quality post. But we don't have an Instagram. We don't have anything. I don't do AdWords. I don't target anything. I go after the majority of my big commercial leads because that's what I'm chasing, right? Yep. Like, I would say that my storefront, what we do at our brick and mortar location, which is about 9,500 square foot. It's not a small shop. There's about 16 people under the roof, including me. You know, that's about 20% of my business. So 20, 30.
Yeah.
But the majority of it has been going after the huge contracts. And that's what I get excited about. Like, you gotta find where you fit in. Yep. And, you know, you guys giving back to the community. I mean, you guys obviously know what you're doing. You compete on the professional level all the time. You win all the time. And so, you know, I even have questions, you know, like, I mean, we've been friends for 10 years. We've never really tinted together, you know, but it's one of those things that I would just like to know how you guys do it. You know, you guys came and tinted some windows at my shop. We all do it very similar, but it's just like, what's the difference between what you're doing and what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I still want to know those things, you know?
Well, that's where we definitely got to work out. I gotta check the dates and see if it's even a possibility. If it is beyond, say, doing paint protection together, like as much, it was a blast tinting with Les and Rick, them welcoming me onto their team at the last minute, just providing me the ability to actually do the Ironman, like the full-fledged Ironman with them. Like I want to go, and I would love to do auto with you, and I guess with him too. Wouldn't be nice, I guess, but he doesn't really do auto, so I guess he can be our cheerleader.
I'll turn a cleaner window than you.
Prove me wrong.
I'll wait to talk smack until I see the results, and then if I win, I'll gloat.
No, it's fun to do it at the same time.
I know.
Well, I don't really. I do zero.
I love y'all's banter though. It's from the outside looking at it, it's fun.
It's still the one thing that's always escaped me is the auto accolades. That's the one thing, like, and which kills me. We got the one cool thing about Tint Off this year, as long as he provided like meaningful feedback for Sarah, she sent us our score sheets. So I was able to pull up my score sheet, and for Flat Glass, without a doubt, because Sal, me and him had a conversation after the show was over and everything was done, and it was last night that we were there, and like he told me, he's like, "Oh, dude, man," he's like, "I screwed your window up both times," and I was like, "Which one?" Because at first I thought like
You mean putting extra marks on there to make you think it was worse than it was?
Yeah. He marked the living hell out of it. And like looking at my score, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
So I don't know a lot of the other judges. I just met some recently, but I know that when Sal stopped competing and he went over to be a judge, one of the things that I praised him the most for was at this last deal, they took a lot of time to review everybody's window. And so they were told between the first and the second set, like, hey, you need to speed it up. He's like, absolutely not, because I started judging a certain way. Yep. I have to finish judging a certain way. I will not speed up, and I will judge everybody's the same way. And so like the integrity in that, like just knowing that was actually a conversation had, I was
well, that doesn't surprise me with him, man.
Oh, but that's amazing though. Yeah. 'Cause some people would just be like, all right, whatever, let's go. But the fact that he was just like, all these people have already been judged to this criteria. I'm judging everybody to that criteria. So whoever wins, wins.
Oh yeah, so, he did an amazing job with the fact that even with like, because usually you can, I guess you can tell within a certain point of like how much of the extra marks are bullshit or not.
Yeah.
But he did a good job of doing that to everyone. And like unfortunately, there was one window that got like a smiley face, but with a broken heart on it. And he lost 15, I think it was 15 points because he held his done sign up. And like even he
went back and touched it.
He didn't touch his window. He went back and put all his tools and stuff away. You're not supposed to. As soon as you hold your done sign up, you can't touch nothing. So like the proctor came over and told him like, hey, I'll let you know, he touched all this stuff after the fact. Yeah. And they were like, that's why he put the broken heart on. They were heartbroken because it was a gorgeous window. And without a doubt, he would have been in the finals. And because of that, didn't make the finals.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. But it's even with like getting my auto score back, I knew as soon as when I got into the auto, the one thing I forgot, a technical tool that I forgot to put in my box, which it's like I had it out when I was in the room getting everything ready, was paper towels. And as soon as you enter the competition floor, you kind of are at a point where you can't talk to nobody. You talk to someone, you get docked points. So it's like I've installed without paper towels before. I had to use microfibers, but I'm not used to sliding a microfiber on my card across the edge of my window.
Yeah, I can see how that. Yeah, that's a game changer when you're talking about points.
It pushed up. The window was great, and I know where if I would have the points I lost on my film folded, pushed inward, and left ghosting and hazing in the spot that it pushed up on because there was no water in there. I didn't have time to peel it up, to re-wet it, and re-squeegee it. I just kind of was one of those things where I hope I nailed everything else, and I could see where I got docked in that spot, and I was just like, that's what cost me this time.
What I need to do, since I love working the trade show, like so. Talking about like giving back and stuff like that. My first 7-figure year was when I started using meters and I started selling large jobs, big city jobs, like just stuff that I was competing against local people out of my area, like 1,000 miles away. And I showed up with my Glass Check Pro at the time, but glass, equivalent to the Elite now. And I started testing it. I pulled temperature gauges out. I laid film samples up, and I was going for my first 7-figure job, and I was just like, man, this is a game changer. So like one of the ways I like to like give back though is I love to go and work the EDTM booth with Mark. And what's funny is he is so smart that everything I tell him, I'm like, you just got to dumb it down for me, bro. Like you gotta put it in my terms. But when he explains it to me, I can translate it slightly better to the tinters. And so when the tinters come up to the booth, I'm like, hey, I don't work for EDTM. I own a shop. This is how I use the tool. And then they engage with you because they're like, oh, well, I was thinking about doing this. I was thinking about doing that. And some aren't ready to jump to the next level, and that's okay. But I love having those conversations with people about, like, you know, just where are you at in your business? This is what I'm doing. And I just remember one of the first years I was doing it, we're in Virginia at the Tint Off. And this guy comes up to me, and he, you know, he just being real cocky. And he was just like, why would I listen to you? You know? And I was saying, I'm like, you don't have to. Like, these are the meters. Like, if you want to get to the next level, this is what you got to do it. And one of the guys that was overhearing it, it was one of the years that I was featured in Window Film magazine. Like, that magazine was released and was sitting like 2 booths down that you could go and grab it. When the guy walks over, he grabs a magazine, flips it open, and he's just like, because he's in here and you're not. And it was just one of those moments. I was just like, dude, have my back, you know, like, because, you know, I'm not going to sit here and gloat, or everyone's at a different place in their business, in their life, whatever. But when I take the time out of my day to come to a trade show and try to help level you up, that's what I'm doing, man. Like, I'm not here. Like, I don't make any money off these meters. I do it to help the industry get to that next level. Yeah. So all these automotive guys are like, what is this? And they sell the automotive, you know, tint checks and stuff like that. Yeah. The ones that come apart, you can check windshields and all that. But, you know, I'm really focused on the flat glass stuff. And then I'll get somebody from another country that's really got some hard questions. And that's when I'm like, Mark, let me talk to this guy. Let's swap people, you know. Because I don't know the engineering side of it. I know how I use the devices. Yeah. I know how to sell with the devices. But, you know, there's so much more to it that's just way up here.
That's probably even like the best added benefit to buying Mark's meters is that if you buy one of his meters, you have now access to Mark. Like, if just get out of your own way and realize, don't feel bad that, oh, I don't know what this is or how to explain this, or I'm confused with something. Reach out to Mark. He is your best asset. Like, for us, like being Solar Guard and being a Panorama, we have Miguel, but like, it's even beyond that. I know I can reach straight out to Mark, and it's like sometimes I just not even say the ease to reach out to Miguel. But it's like I'll ask Miguel about something just because it's like I'm trying to get.
Gonna be so mad at you. He's like, dude, I got so much on my plate right now.
No, he was just saying
I'm just messing.
He wants people to reach out.
It's more likely I don't reach out to Mark because, like, when it comes down to it, I'm reaching out to Miguel because I'm making sure that the warranty and everything is, like, especially on a big job. Like, are we good?
And over 2,500 square feet. We good?
Yeah. Are we good? Yeah. But if it's anything that's within the realm of Miguel going, give me a second. I know what he's doing. I'm gonna call Mark real quick and we'll verify. All right, we good? All right, we're good. And then I get the call back from Miguel. It's like I can get to reach out to either one of them. But even when it comes down to, you don't have to be part of Solar Guard. Like, if you just buy one of Mark's meters, just be open to give him a phone call, and like, he will pick up his phone. He's got no problem answering those phones. He loves it.
I've had that happen a couple of times this year where the readings I was getting coming back didn't make sense to me. So I called Miguel. I send Miguel photos, and he's like, I'm gonna email Mark. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and I love being in their conversations, man. So Miguel, my first couple.
Speaking another goddamn language with those two talking to each other. You're sitting there like,
I take notes every time.
Repeat this again, please, and just dumb it down a little bit for me.
Oh man, every time that I walk into a room and they're on a topic, I'm sitting there in my notes on my phone, and I'm like, how do you spell that? Like, because they're using such big words. I'm like, can you talk into my phone, text it? Because, like, I'm not going to get this word. I don't know what you said, but I need to learn how to say it, you know?
But, no, absolutely.
So you can take those two talking and develop an AI bot. That's Mark Miguel bot.
No, that would be, we need to do that. I want to have a podcast with both of them.
Yeah.
And just help steer the conversation, but let those two talk and then see if I can understand what they're talking about.
Well, on that topic though, like, so, you know, you don't have to be necessarily brand affiliated to be a part of this. You know, you can come into this school and tint windows, but the whole thing is about just creating a network, right? It's about like you just said, even people that are at the top of their game, like I put Miguel way up here, I'd put Mark way up here.
Yep.
But like they're using each other to answer questions.
And they know when they don't know something, they're not just going to BS you. That's the thing I respect. It's like,
yep.
I'm going to you for an answer because I know that I don't know it. I think I know the answer, but I want to verify. Yep. And then you go to them and they're like, let me verify.
Well, then it comes down to our level, as installers and business owners. Like we were just talking about a minute ago, but I don't do a lot of outside weatherable film. That's not common in my area. We're high humidity. It doesn't last as long, whatever. But there was a fix I felt like that could go with outside weatherable. So I called and Rick was able to answer the question, give me some really good advice, and I was able to not overpromise on the job. But at the end of the day, you need that network of people to call that will answer your calls too, and get back with you. And I mean, whether I'm calling somebody in a cold climate to ask a question about a job that, like, I'll call Kyle in Pennsylvania because I got a job going on in New York. And I'm like, hey, based on the environment, like, what do you know about this?
Yeah.
And he gives me the answer real quick, and I'm like, boom, solved all my problems, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, got to create that network. And like I'm saying, like being a part of this Born to Tint Academy and all that stuff, like when you come to something like this, you're making friends for life, essentially. Like you're showing that you want to level up by investing in things like that, investing your time into things like this. You're showing you want to level up. So it makes it to where the people that are around you all have the same drive. And there's people, I'm not saying that they don't have drive, that just maybe can't afford it or just whatever, but you just know that those people that you're side by side with are the people that you can count on no matter what. Well, and it's a big deal.
Oh, that's where it's like selfishly, like even when it comes to say like this podcast now, like having people on, it provides a service for our company and for what we're trying to reach social media wise and get our company out there and, generate leads for our company so we can then provide for our installers. But at the same time, I get to have a conversation where, depending on if I'm having someone from the industry like yourself or Miguel, Mark, anyone like that, where usually anytime we're doing something like this, it's not that hard to prep for. I know I can have a conversation with almost anyone from our industry to where it's like, I want to pick their brains. It's where they're at with their company and where their train of thought is. And then even outside of our industry, we've had people on that are just business owners. And the same thing, I get to selfishly pick their brain for 2 hours. Like, well, how do you deal with this problem? How do you deal with this? How do you manage these people? How do you I had one of my good friends that's a neighbor, lives across the street from me. He helps run, he's a COO of one of the largest privately owned dentist companies in our town. And he runs the forward facing part of obviously clients coming in, getting their teeth done, but they also have 2 other academies that help with dental hygienists and the assistants, to where people pay to go to those academies because they want to get the credentials to be able to go work. But now they get the pick of the litter when it comes down to it of like, hey, you want a job? Because he knows exactly kind of what the turnaround is for any one of either dental hygienists or assistants, to where they are always being able to fill the slots of, hey, all right, we just lost this person because maybe, hey, they're moving out of town or whatever happens. Now they get to put someone in, like they went through our academy, we trained them, and it's kind of like technically what sparked doing the academy for us is I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say most of the big guys in our industry, the biggest problem everyone has is labor. That's always the choke point, is labor. I need installers to get this job done. And they're always looking for more installers. Now, if I can provide a service to if someone wants to spend their money and come learn, that's all right. Well, that's already one of the criteria in my mind. You're already looking to level up. Now it's on me to provide an actual product that's actually going to help them level up, when it comes down to installation wise. But now I get to work side by side with numerous people, to where when it comes down to, if I get local people that are coming to this, it's like when I get done, it's, hey, are you looking for a job? Or it's beyond that, you're cool with doing, say you're a one-man auto shop where it's just you want to bring another skill into your tool belt to be able to do flat glass, where it's like
contract them out.
Yep.
And it's getting back to creating that network. Now I have a network of people that are all like-minded. We can all stay populated in one area and bounce ideas off each other to where we're all committed to at least the point of like, if you're willing to come out to a class out of state, say you're coming from out of Nevada and you're coming in here for a class, like I know we're kind of where you're mentally at when it comes down to it. And even if say you have a project that's within your area that it's like, all right, this is above what I can install, but I also went to the class or I'm networking people with and I've been to this class to where it's like you can reach out to these people. Now I'm like, hey, I have this big project. I need a couple installers. Is anyone available?
Or even some help closing it or any step of the process.
All aspects of it when it comes down to it. It's like you'll always be able to reach out. Like there's too much glass out there to try to compete against everyone. There's no reason to do that. It's provide what services you can provide the customer service, win on that merit when it comes down to it. And
follow the leads, man. The leads are out there. You might have to go after them. I won't put all my secrets out there, but I could have a conversation with 20 window tinters right now, and I guarantee you not one of the 20 people, even in my group, go after the leads the same way I do.
Yep.
And I would love to talk about that to them. But then also, if they enlighten me on how they do it, that's just one more trick I got in my bag.
Yep.
So it's just this industry is just giving. I mean, 2% of all glass, I don't know if that's the correct statistic. It's just what I always hear, but 2% of all flat glass is tinted. That sounds 98%. Right. There's 98% of opportunity out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're sitting in your shop and you're twiddling your thumbs and not doing anything, you're not going after it, And one thing we were kind of talking about earlier too is like, I kind of got thrown into being a shop owner. Never in my life did I ever want to be a shop owner. There's too many personalities to deal with. There's everybody's like, oh, you create your schedule. No, my customers create my schedule. Yeah. My time off is dictated by what I have to be a part of. When I leave here, I'm still working another 40 hours, making sure that when you guys get to work, I have all the right answers and this and that. And it's just honestly just never, the ownership side of it has never been fun. But I think the one thing is just finding people. The hard part is in our industry, like everybody wants to be an owner, right? Yeah. Like, so you just keep talking, like, I want to be an owner. I want to be an owner. That's great. But the hard part is just finding those people, subcontract them out, whatever. You're never going to get them to come to your shop and be loyal. I've learned that a lot in the last couple of years. I was had one way of doing things, and if it was outside of that, you weren't a part of my team.
Yeah. And
I've let go of the reins a lot in the past 3 or 4 years. And it came down to this one guy came in from Missouri. He's my lead tech on the auto side inside the shop. He came in. I always do a working interview. I was like, all right, show me how to tint this window. And he was doing all this crazy shit. I was like, dude, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because if this turns out, I learned something today. And I just remember watching him tint this window, and I'm just like, there's just no way. Like, I've been doing this 20 years. There's no way this is going to work. Put in a flawless window in the most oddest way. And he's like, that's the only way that anybody ever taught me how to do it. He didn't know another way. And I had never seen that way in 20 years. But someone like him, like he came in, became a very, very valuable team member. He's one of the guys that's going to be a part owner in my shop. Just give him a piece of the pie, but you got to be able to sit back and let people figure out the process themselves. Like you said, you guys grew up together and you tint differently.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. If your final product's your final product and, obviously it's good, then that's all you need at the end of the day. Let people figure out their own path, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's probably the one thing I probably needed to add it because we just started putting out, like now that everything's up and we finally have the time to actually kind of breathe a little bit and actually start using the academy for content and start developing because I wanted to use our installers because we have a couple of young guys that have been with us for like almost a year now where it's like I've had a hand in helping and train them a little bit, but not really. So it's like I kept one of them in for a full day and we just kind of recorded me going over. I let him tint a window and then I was like, just tint these windows until it's customer ready. And then you're walking into a house, you're walking out of the house. I want to see how you leave it type thing. I got to know where you stand when it comes down to it. So I let him do that. I went over it and with some of the content we put out, the reply back on some of it was like, oh, well, you can do it that way, but it's going to take longer. And in which I should start with it. This is how I install, and this is how I'm training someone to install, because this has been successful for me.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to do it? Absolutely not. And it's like, I replied back to a couple of the comments, just trying to be, I'm not taking offense to it, because I agreed. Like, yeah, there's definitely there's 1,100 ways to skin a cat, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely there is. But I know how successful this has been for me in my career. And then even with the pushback of like, you can get it done faster, which again, I will push back on that and be like, yeah, where my shop is. We're in Henderson. We're at 600 West Sunset, Unit 106. Come by and let's go back and forth. Show me. And I'll tint my way. You tint your way. I'm willing to put down, right now in my career, any amount of money when it comes down to it, that I will finish before you. It'll be cleaner than yours. But and I know it's going to come off stupidly cocky, but like, I know what I'm really good at. Like, and I know I'm really good at flat glass when it comes down to it. And like I made my way of installing. I have got it to the point now where I've tried to cut out as much as possible without cutting out anything that's going to downgrade the quality of my install, because I was an installer at one point where I was making just per square foot. So being fast was on my mind at all times.
My thing always, and you got to have, when you start a business, you got to have core values, right? And it's customer service and quality, and quality over quantity.
Yeah, always.
And so I have just prided myself on just putting out the best that I can. I would like to look back at over 20 years and go, man, like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I can compete with the best. I really feel like I'm a top tier installer. I'm very proud of what I do.
That's why I want you to compete.
But at the same time, like, that's where I've lost my passion though too. Is just like, now I want to, like, there's so many people, like, after my seminars that I did and the Window Film Conference, and after I talk to people at EDTM, I give out my actual business cards and stuff like that at those things. And people reach out to me. It's just like, hey, I got these questions. And I like to mentor people. Yeah. I like to, and I've never done it on a social media platform or anything. And like, even when you get into the social media stuff, like, you'll get on a page, I won't single one out, but you'll get on a page and someone asks a legitimate question. It's not a stupid question. It's a legitimate question. Yeah. And then you just have 29 comments. You open it up, 28 are trolls.
That's the unfortunate part.
And that's unfortunate. So what I do, instead of commenting in there, I will go in there and I will just private message a person. Hey, this is how I'll do it. If this works for you, I hope it does. You know, and then might get a short conversation or just a thank you or just whatever. I don't always have the answer, but I'll try to ask them a few more questions to see if I can help them come up with a solution. But that's just the direction of, I do want to compete, so we'll figure that out. But I definitely want to kind of keep going in this leadership role of just mentoring and putting the information out there, because there's so many people I'm competing against. And so I'll say this is where my biggest struggle is with social media, and this is everyone's local community, but you compete against businesses that aren't businesses. So on social media, you can make yourself look like whatever you want. Yeah. You could be competing against someone that just has the ability to make a great Facebook page or a great Instagram or some nice reels on TikTok or something like that. But when it comes down to it, like, do they even have like a business license to the state? Are they paying insurance? Are they paying county taxes? Like, there's so many things that dictate who you're competing against. And it's like, in this market today, it's just kind of become stressful to try to compete against, I'll just say, non-businesses. Just because you can tint a window, just because you can create a page doesn't mean you're a business. There's so much liability that comes with being a business. There's so much stuff that you bid on that you have to have, $1 million, $3 million, or $3 million, $5 million insurance on. Yep. There's payroll, taxes, and everything that kind of comes along with being a business. But there's so many businesses that I try to mentor the people into doing it the right way. And that's that's what I've been really kind of focused on, because there's so many people that like, I'm going to say there's nothing wrong with the way that they're doing it. Do it how you want to do it. But if you want to get into something that you can build, sustain a brand, and be able to retire from one day, or maybe not even sell it but take dividends from the company, like, I don't want to tint windows when I'm 65 years old. I don't want to tint windows when I'm 55 years old. I want to build something that is a legitimate business that's going to give me a return. I put 24 years of my life into this.
Yeah.
38 years old. Started when I was 15. It's just like, I want to give back because I want to see the whole industry do better. Because if the whole industry is doing better, when I walk away from the industry, I know that I still got something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if people are coming in and they're just kind of taking the industry down, that's what my return is going to be after I retire.
Yeah.
Is wherever the bottom is,
No, I couldn't agree more. No, it's with the social media, I think it's definitely improving now, without a doubt. And there's I think the thirst for knowledge is really there now.
Yeah,
it's really opening up in our industry where it's not so much cutthroat anymore, where I'm not going to help you. Like, it's definitely more open to the fact of, hey, hold on, like, how do you do that? And it's actually earnestly, like, they want to know. That's the one thing I hate about some of the Facebook groups when it comes down to it. And it's not, I hate any of the Facebook groups. It's just some of the aspects of them. It's the same thing. Someone's asking a question who's a year or two in, and then he gets shit on by half the people that are commenting on it. Like, what is that doing for him? That's doing nothing. Yeah. Like, he's asking a true, legitimate question. And where, unfortunately, some people they'll post it anonymously because they're just like, I don't want to deal with it. But like, I actually have this question. I want to know what the answer is. I've always went to go engage and say something. I'm like, I'm good. Just because I'm not trying to throw myself into that heap. I actually am going to start taking that step towards where I'm just going to start privately messaging people.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I've never, for some reason, that's the most obvious thing in the world. Never thought of that.
Now, here's the next level to it for you, in my opinion, since you are such a great networker and you really do try to help people, rather than operating in those ecosystems where they've got their own moderation and maybe there's no moderation. If you actually start putting more content out of everything we just talked about and how you're trying to help other people, now you get to be the moderator. If somebody gets in the comments of your post explaining how you're doing certain things,
it is a full-time job though.
Oh no, it's thankfully we have a team. But the exposure
you're getting and the amount the amount of people you'd be able to help would be scaled up in a way that you can't even fathom. Like, people are spending 6-8 hours a day on their phone right now. If they're spending some of that listening to the content you're creating and the way you want to say it, and then you've got that ability to directly DM and message those people that are engaging in a positive way.
Also, kind of running on that, you guys created something amazing here to where you're going to have multiple people coming in for a class, and you could maybe ask the people that are signing up for these classes, like, hey, we can do a special topic, like what do you want to do? And if they're wanting to build brand or whatever, maybe I would be willing to come and just talk to them, kind of do one-on-ones with people.
We plan on building that full community. We plan on asking you to come do a guest teaching with us, because where we kind of have it, and this is where we're actually starting to actually get into the weeds of how we really want to do this, how we're going to do it. Because getting the academy built, that was technical step one when it came down to it, is we need to build a facility that we can actually facilitate doing all this. Yeah. Now it's like, okay, how do we want to go about it? Because like I said, me and him install completely different. I know I install completely from you, from Sal, from Les. Like, watching Sal and Les compete in the WCT, like, I watched some Side Factory stuff. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? But they're still making finals and winning. Like, they're
crushing it.
Yeah, they're crushing it. Like, they're still putting out the exact same quality. So who am I to question what they're doing? Like, I'm at a point, like, I'm not questioning. I'm curious. Why do you do it?
Questioning, like, why? Not like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah, no.
How'd you do that?
Yeah, no, that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, the tin offs for me really opened up my mind. Like, first one I went to was 2012. And going into it and looking into it, it was like, I saw at the time, the person that I was going into, like, eyeing, like, the top of the heap was Chris Brooks. Because I know he had won the previous year. And like, so it's like he was the previous winner. So it's like, all right, I'm going to go and beat him.
And you introduced me to him this past year. Super nice guy.
Oh,
I really like him a lot.
And he's definitely.
You just met Chris Brooks?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like you guys have there's a whole nother network out there of people.
There's just so many people at those events.
Dude, Chris drove down, went and met him at his place, and then you had some spray tanks. The orange pump spray tanks. He had like 4 of them sitting, and like that's Chris's. Like, oh my god, like I can't believe you have 4 of those. I will take them off you.
They were discontinued. But like at my thing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. I bought them to do a job out of state, and I shipped all my stuff back, and I shipped those back with it. But back when I was doing large flat glass jobs, 9,000-10,000 square feet, I mean, a few $100s in tools don't mean nothing.
Yep.
So you just buy the tools, get the tools there. Your squeegees and stuff like that you might take back, but the big items, you just leave them there. And so that's what he did. He did a very large job out of the country, I think, and he left the tanks there. And then after he did it, he regretted it, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, well, I got some. And he was like, what you want for them? I don't want anything for them. Like, I mean, they've literally been sitting there. As long as they still work and stuff and you want to use them, by all means, use them, because I might need a favor from him later on down the road. That's not my expectation, but I mean, just
create that relationship.
Yeah, creating that relationship.
And that's where I got lucky, is because I went into that. I think I was in my mid-20s. I think I was 25, and I wanted to go into like I'm gonna be the youngest one to win this, and all full of just pure cockiness when it came down to it. And thankfully, that was a very humbling experience. Like, I had a finger pop on my door, but that was the first time I actually saw someone.
What year would that have been?
2012.
Okay,
it was in Louisville. And that's the first time I saw someone tint like the way I tinted. Like when it came to auto, like I saw Chris bottom load with a triangle card, and I was like, I had seen no one else do that beforehand. I know people had bottom load. Someone taught me how to bottom load. One of the original guys that tinted with us, his name was Rod. He would bottom load, but he would do it with metal spatulas, like almost
like just used for drywalling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just he got so good with flinging the metal around. Like I've never got comfortable with using metal on. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. Like no, I'm good.
The dude's a savage.
He's stupid. That's where I got my speed from. Was him. Like I got my cleanliness from my dad. I got my quality from my dad, because my dad always preached quality over everything. Quality is king when it comes down to it. If you want your customers coming back, you better be putting out a good product when it comes down to it. But I learned all of my speed from Rod.
I was the first person I ever saw bottom load. For the longest time, he was the only person I knew that bottom loaded.
And then when I finally...
this was like in the early, mid-90s.
And then when I finally started doing it, because I tried for a couple months and failed miserably, just junk window after junk window, and I was like, screw this shit. And I went back to 2-staging. And then I was like, I'm going to try this again. And then I tried it, and just something clicked. It just something popped, something clicked, and I started doing it. When I went to that competition, I saw Chris do the exact same thing, and I was just like, okay, so I'm not crazy.
Yeah, you're not a pioneer, but you're not crazy. Like other people are doing it, it's okay.
Yeah, and it was like, and then thankfully being humbled in that experience, and then falling towards the right direction, and then creating the relationships I did with Chris, Les, and all of them, and falling into kind of that category and leaning that way, and realizing like, hey man, you don't know everything. Not everybody knows everything. You need to learn and just keep kind of grow, because at that time there was like kind of 2 factions. It was the guys who thought they knew absolutely everything and did not want to learn, or cave to the fact that like you can learn something from this, or you can go into it, watch everyone else install, and then realize like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And then it's like you have that conversation, you spark up that conversation, you start creating that network. And it's like I didn't realize that was happening at the time until later on. Like I look back at it now, I'm like, I am so grateful for that event happening and me going to it and all that stuff happening, because it helped me grow.
The events, I would not be where I'm at. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't go to the events. I say, don't sleep on it. Do it. But I also give mad respect. So you guys grew up in this tint shop. I know that you got some different experiences and stuff like that, but I started sweeping floors at like 14 years old in a shop. My brother, super Mustang guy, it was a Mustang shop, but window tint shop. And we'd drive by that shop like every day. My brother wanted to go hang out. So finally the owner, I was a cocky little shit, but
weren't we all?
Might still be, I don't know. But no, the owner, I was sitting there telling him, I was like, why don't you stop talking and tint that window? Or something like that. I'm like 14, 15. And he's like, why don't you do it? And he allowed me to like hop in the back of the car, do a window. It didn't turn out perfect, but he was actually able to chisel on it. He was able to sell it. Like it was a sellable window. And I don't remember exactly the timeline of all that, but I just remember, going back to those times, and I just give so much credit to the people that helped get me to where I'm at. Like the owner of the shop I used to work for. I mean, he's like a father figure to me. He was a great human being. The guy that taught me how to tint, the most rough around the edges person you've ever met in your entire life. A wizard at everything. Like he could walk over to a motor not running, chew on some gum, take a wrapper, and next thing you know, like it's running. Like what did you do? Like you
watched a lot of MacGyver.
Yeah, but I'm saying, that's how it felt being around him.
Yeah.
And in the earlier days, and like back in 01 and stuff like that, like he would squeegee out a window. Nowadays you're taught to pocket shrink the bottom of everything so you don't have an issue. He'd walk over to a car and he'd just right through it, no creases, nothing. I'll be like,
I get that stretch, baby.
Yeah, for the longest time,
I'm gonna do it on the other
shrink
side.
Doors, just stretch it.
Yeah, but he would just walk up to something that I couldn't do and just do it, and it gave me so much drive because I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it. And it's never been that way. Like everything that he could do, I still don't know what he could do.
So I got one question for both of you, actually, before we have to wrap this up. Tinner Battle's location is getting announced tonight. Where do we think it's going to be?
Oh, if you look at the map, you know how to read a map. It's in Reno.
Huh?
He already put the hint out. So you've been following any of the maps?
I saw the hint of the rattlesnake, and that was on the West Coast. That was awesome.
So if he put out a map of the entire United States, and he covered it and all the different type of logos from either the old Tinner Battles to the old caricatures that were made from like the first Tinner Battles. And if you search the map, you can see the new logo, because he says wherever it's going to happen, it's on the new logo. The new logo is sitting in northern Nevada. It's on top of where Tahoe and Reno is. It's 100% in Reno. I've
never been, so I will go.
It 100% will be in Reno.
Right, he's announcing that tonight.
And I have no prior knowledge of anything. And just looking at that map, I'm not sure where the rattlesnake and the roses comes from Reno. So I'm dying to see how that's parsed out. But I'm putting my stake that it's in Reno.
Okay.
In my eyes.
I'm just going to be there.
Well, if you're wrong, we can edit that and switch it to whatever it
No,
actually
we don't edit anything. You put it out. That's what my guess is. My guess is that I think it's in Reno. Looking at the map, I found that logo. That logo
I didn't
was
see
hovering.
any map. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to go.
What?
So I told you before we started, I need to go at 4. So you guys can keep going. I got to go. I got to pick one of my kids up.
Oh, okay.
You guys can keep going.
No, we'll keep going. See you.
Pour another one?
Yep.
All right. Well,
all right, Josh.
Well, that's why I'm not drinking either. So.
Yeah. He got to go be the responsible one.
You're still going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
we got to make some more content.
Thank you for coming out, man.
Absolutely,
man. I had fun today. Everything we did today was awesome.
I appreciate it.
I'm excited for tomorrow.
Oh, now I get to carry an intro. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, you'll be all right. Here, we could do my intro right now.
No, we can't. Get up. Get out of here. But no, I'm fairly certain. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm fairly certain that it's going to be in Reno when it comes down to it. Looking at the map of everything.
Just do what you did last time. It was good.
Yes. It's like how I pour my soap solution. All right.
Perfect.
Oh, that's all right. Let me get into that. How are you when it comes to making your soap solution? Because so many people are so dialed in, which with paint protection, it makes sense to do it. I don't disagree with that at all. I have to get out of my own way when it comes down to it and realize that it actually is a big factor of probably propelling my paint protection further is stop guessing and actually measure it out, because paint protection, you want to remove as many variables as you possibly can. Because when I started doing paint protection, it was like my dad bought a roll of film from Solar Guard. It was original clear shield, and that shit was cardboard thick, and you had to use a steamer. And like my dad handed it to me, he's like, "You just squeegee it on." I'm like,
I used
cool.
I remember.
Oh, so now how much further I am in like actually into installing now, realizing yes, you want to remove as many variables as you possibly can. Use the same type of water. Use the same slip. Your slip solution against your tack solution makes all the difference in the world. And then get introduced to hot water. That was a game changer too. I was like, oh,
it helps.
Oh, you mean clear the soap off the glue before you wrap your edge? Oh, that makes sense. Why haven't I been doing that?
So I do this. I travel around to other shops all the time, and I've had the privilege of doing paint protection out at Genesis with Josh and Nick. Watching them go at it. They are dialed in, boy. They got like the syringes. They pulled this much soap into it. They put it in the bottle. Then, I go down to other shops and it's just like they got the whatever their solution is, and it's how they hold their hand or how they hold their mouth, or if they got the pump top on the top. It's just how many ever, like a pump and a half, it's just like every shop does it extremely different. But because I've seen so many different ways, I butchered mine. So mine, there's no science. We use the backpack when we do PPF. I put it up to 80 ounces of water in it, just so I know my water height every time. And I have a certain amount of drops of soap that I put in. And so if I only want to use a half a bag and I go to 40, I divide it in half. So that is the science behind mine. But it's the same every time. So, but it's hard. My guys that work with me every day, they know what it needs to be, but you can't ask one of the guys from the other side of the shop to make a solution for you.
Yeah, no, okay. So that's where me and you are both on the same page. That's one thing I have to get better at, and actually realizing how to dial in for myself. So when I go to train someone,
cheers,
it's the same thing. Cheers. It's the same thing. I mean, even for technical flat glass, when it comes down to any of the competitions, people are using, like I know True Spray this year, Bruce, he was kind enough to he got jugs of distilled water and put pumps on them to everyone can have nice clean water. But
that's awesome.
I've always been of the nature, like I'm just filling my shit up out of a faucet. And like I'm so about 1,000% sure that every time I've won, that is the water from the local area going to my hotel into my bottle. And it's just like, I know what I use, and it works for me every time. Like in my eyes, it's not going to make that big of a difference, especially because I guess I kind of pride myself on being able to, I guess not MacGyver situation, but say you're in a situation where you don't have clean water. So you're telling me you can't produce a clean window without having your distilled water on you? Like that's a problem. Yeah.
So I don't use distilled water for anything other than PPF on auto.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, our water, so we got the little thing. Can't think of the name of it right now, but you can test the water to see like how many minerals or whatever in it.
Yeah, I do have one of those.
Our water at our shop is actually extremely clean to most areas.
What's the parts per million?
Man, that's an Adam question. I'd have to ask him. I don't have that
below
answer.
100.
I'd have to ask. He's the guy that he's like, yeah, you're good or you're not good.
All right, so this is where we'll cut into where we'll find out what that number is, and we'll cut that into this number right in the bottom of the screen. Only because like if we test our water, because that's the one thing that unfortunately we have in Vegas is Vegas is one of the cities in the country where the laws change because they have to. Because if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the parts per million have to be like around 100 and something for it to be technically clean drinking water.
Okay,
that shit changes in Vegas. It's below like 400. Like if I were to test my water
the other way.
If I test my water right now, it's going to be about 350 to 360 because we draw from Lake Mead, and that's recycled water. And like for us to be an actual city, that's where we're getting our water from. Without Lake Mead, Vegas is gone.
About empty water right now.
Yeah, well, I don't worry about that so much. I think when it comes down to it, like there's too much money on the strip for that to become like if it ever becomes like a dire issue. I think all the billionaires and hedge funds and whatever that own the strip, like they'll solve that problem, because if Lake Mead dries up, that means that revenue stream's dried up, which there's too much money in the strip. There's just too much.
I've always heard the best water in our country is actually like New York City. And it just sounds like such an odd statistic, but someone was explaining it to me one time, talking about how it like comes from like glacier water or something like that. Obviously running through pipes from 1920, like by the time it gets to you, it might not be that great. But going from where it starts to where it finishes, everywhere is different, whether it's new construction up there or not.
Yeah. No. And that's definitely one of the things where I know I need to get better at dialing those things in. Yeah. Because it's more trainable. Like it's even when it comes down to it, like a film handler, I resisted this, which I mean, hilarious that he's not here. But like I resisted the film handler for a long time because I can cut out of a box within an inch of my window consistently. But that comes with the caveat, I've been doing it for over a decade plus. Yeah. So I have the repetition to do so. Now, in order to bring someone in to train them to teach them that, it's going to take them time to be able to get that pattern cut that close to where I'm not losing an extra 2 or 3 inches per pattern. And that adds up. If you've scaled your flat glass up,
it can lead you out of that last window.
Yeah. Well, and then also too, you do take that number throughout an entire year. Cause yes, you can think very small on that and think, well, per job, it's just a couple, extra like bucks when it comes down to it, an extra 50, 60 bucks on a job. Now, if you bleed into a second roll, then now that might sting if that's not something that you are selling constantly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But take those extra 1 to 2 inches per pattern throughout an entire year and then tell me how much money that is. I can save thousands of dollars. Yeah. And yes, that helps my bottom line, but also then that takes it to where I can take that money and I can now reinvest back into the company, reinvest back into my installers to make them better, buy new tools, or, hey, at the end of the year, we saved this much money because of how we were so stringent with our material because we cut off the film handler and made sure everything was perfect. Here's your bonus for the year.
Yeah.
Or however it need be. Like, all of those small little pieces add up. The extra couple of bucks here and there, you take it times 365. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the large jobs that I do, I use a film handler. I have a van that is a high roof, so I can flip a 72-inch roll any which way I want to in my van. And I got a film handler in there. And if I'm going on a large commercial job, up several stories, and I just need to have the film handler in the middle of the area, I'll bring it up there, put it on a ladder. But if I'm traveling and doing a large job, I can't remember what company makes it, but I still have a few of them left. But on the box, it's a metal piece that goes across the box, and you can't put a blade in it or anything. Yep. But it'll just allow you to get that more straight line cutting out of the box. And so I'll usually drop ship one of those to the job site if I know that nobody there is showing up with a film handler.
Yep.
So, it's a small investment. They're really not that cheap, but usually the jobs that you're sending it to, it doesn't matter.
You'll be able to provide something for the installers to make them more
efficient, less waste.
Yep. And now
it pays for itself usually.
Yep. So. Yep. It was just like saying the same thing. Like when you do a big job, you ship your tools or buy everything, have it drop ship there. You're not really worried about shipping the tools back because you've already priced it into the job. It's the same thing. Instead of buying an extra roll of film because you have to worry about an extra piece being scrapped because they cut it too close and it's short, or they cut a bunch of pieces too long. Now you're short a piece. Now you have to send another box of film out there. You bought that one tool to satisfy that need to where it's like, all right, as long as you use this, you're going to end up at the end of the job with exactly where it needs to be. And to be honest, like, here's an added bonus. Take that with you. It's now yours.
I just love seeing, like, even, hearing it from the other side, but I just love seeing like where we've been able to like scale our businesses to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
To be able to buy extra tools and discard them, to be able to, and it's not really being wasteful, but sometimes it costs more to ship them back than what the tools are worth. And like I said, we're bringing our squeegees back, we're bringing our handles back, but like a big pump bottle, that tank, it's cost so much to ship it back, it's just not worth it.
So. Oh yeah, that was like before like they had the automated spray systems. Like every time that I go to a tint off, I would because of the manufacturer that would be sponsoring me at the time, they'd be like, "What tools do you want?" I'm gonna take advantage of that, and like as much as you're gonna want to send me. Like, and I've always been told by my reps, ask for what you want. I'll let you know if you're ever overreaching. Which Tracy one year said that, and like. We put together this dumbass list of tools. It included like a film handler, a Jiffy steamer. I sent it to Tracy. He called me and goes, all right, no. Like, not going to happen, dude. I was like, hey, you told me. He's like, I know. All right. He's like, you can get away with these things. Like, okay, I'll take what I get. But we always would have like the 3-gallon like pump sprayer.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would take back, the tank would stay in the hotel. I'd put it in the trash can. I would take out the pump part because that's always what would break on those is the pumps.
Yeah.
And then I'd take the handle because that's the same thing. The handle and the spray.
Yeah.
So I'd cut off that part. I'd take the pump, and that's what I would pack because that's what I could fit in my suitcase because I knew I had a couple extra pounds to spare to actually get it on the airplane. But the tank would stay because it's like I have 5 of those at my shop. I don't need a tank.
And technically depending on your manufacturer, you might have free shipping.
Yep.
And so you didn't pay to ship it there, but it costs more to ship it back one time than what that bottle was worth. So especially from like, a big city, not naming any particular, but just a large city, just trying to get mail out of it is different from where I live. You know, you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah. No.
Like, why does it cost that?
Yeah. And it's like, even when it comes to like, even with the film, like you compete, you get your roll of film, depending on your manufacturer, you get 25 feet or a full roll. Like the paint protection film, without a doubt, I'm finding a way to bring that back with me, which we would always just roll it back up in one piece, one core, and then we would tape the box real tight and we bring it on the plane. Like most of the time, this is the first year, I think it was this past year in Orlando. It was the first time we got stopped where she actually charged us for the fact that the box was 2 inches longer than what their standard was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never had to pay this. She's like, that's because no one was ever doing their job. And I was like, touche.
You almost can't be mad at it. You know?
Oh no, I could like I just nodded my head and said, "Yep, all right." I agree. Like I agree with you 100%. Like your company standard. You can't change this. You were just the first person to actually whip out a tape measure and like you measured it and like you are actually looking at the bottom line for your company and you're a damn good employee. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, I've been lucky with a lot of the conferences I go to. I can drive to, and I always make sure like my vehicle's empty, and I'm like hoping that 72-inch or 36-inch roll ends up in my truck.
I might have to contemplate that this year because
you're close enough.
Well,
are you? No,
you consider a 7.5 hour drive close.
I drove to Virginia.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying I enjoy it. Like, let alone have to convince actually, no, I wouldn't be able to convince my wife. My wife would just be like, I'm flying. I'll meet you there, which I might do for the sole fact of what we can take away from it. Why not? You know, when it comes down to it, because the one thing I am going to try and that
the value of that film outweighs the gas that it costs to get you.
Especially when it comes to paint protection.
Yes.
I'll take that film all day long. Like the architectural film, it's usually silver 20, which I still will keep and bring back with me because then it allows me to use it for training, like in-house training. Like every year we've done our personal tint offs, we use pretty much the film that we used the previous year. It's like, blow this film, go through this, because we do the internal competition where it's like whoever wins the internal competition, you get to go compete.
Yeah.
To where I've told every single person that we've done 2 years now, so you guys can practice as much as you want. Here's your film. If you need more film, you let me know. This is when we're having our competition. And then like I've noticed my certain guys that will actually take that to heart and they do the reps. And then I have my guys that will be like, you know, they're game time players.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to game time, I'm good to go. And it's like,
they didn't practice.
That's not how it is, man. Like repetition is king.
There's unicorns out there though sometimes.
Yes, but at the same time that comes with years of experience. So like when it comes, like right now, the big debate I've had with myself is like last year, was I going to compete last year or was I going to judge? Obviously I fell on the fact that I was going to compete one more time. Due to circumstances, Josh wasn't able to come with us just because we had bids looming. We had a couple big jobs happening at the time. And it was just one of those things, like it's like one of us was staying. Yeah. I told him, I was like, you're staying or I'm staying. It's one of the two. Like we both can't be gone from our company at the time just because we weren't at that point yet. And it ended up being I went back to go defend my title and he stayed. And then when it comes down to it, I would love everyone to come compete against each other. Like get rid of that internal competition. And thankfully, I think this upcoming year we'll be able to do that. That's our game plan this year, is to literally take everyone, instead of doing, because we usually try to do quarterly outings. Like since technically me, my brother, and my sister took over, and it's not any fault of my parents at all. It's just like I can't imagine running the business that they grew for us. What my dad did, I will never experience. Like I'm slightly jealous of it, but not really, because the stress that he had to deal with, like I'm good.
I could imagine. I could imagine.
I have one child. I couldn't imagine doing with 3 kids. And it's like, this is how you have to support your family. And like what they had to do absolutely blows my mind when it comes down to it. But like I have this entire team around me. Like I'm a very, very lucky individual.
Well, like I come from my parents are still together, but like my children have split households. And I do have amazing people within my children's parents to allow me to be able to do things like this. And so, you know, I see the battles from all sides, you know, just taking the time to come out and do this kind of stuff can be difficult. To take the time to go out to a big job could be difficult if it doesn't fall on your particular day or something like that. Yeah. And so, like, just knowing what I know about what your dad did for this business, I mean, I got to give it to them. Like both your parents, not just your dad. And I mean, but no, they definitely have created something amazing here, and it's been really, really cool to watch. So like, I mean, we met, I think 8 years ago is kind of where it's at. And
yes,
16.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we met 8 years ago, and I mean, just knowing what you've told me and what I've told you about our businesses and where we're at, like, it's so cool for me to be able to come and be a part of it in any capacity, you know, just because like just watching each other grow has just been amazing. Just learning the things that we've learned, running ideas off of each other, like, you know, just I guess in a sense, like I've been a storefront owner since 13. But I have to give a lot of credit to the people that helped me get to that level. You know, I did work somewhere before that for a long time, and I respect the hell out of the man. He gave me great opportunities when he didn't have to. Was very much a father figure, showed me the right direction to go. Mm-hmm. You know, and you learn good and bad, right? You know, so you just take every positive thing that you can learn and you try to instill it in your next day to day.
Yeah.
And learn from it, grow from it. You know, so just, I don't know, it's just really cool. I think we're both mentally at that point, like with so many different minds and so many different personalities in your company, the stress is just there. I wish on so many different levels sometimes, like I'll talk to friends of mine and they're, you know, just him and his wife, or, you know, someone's got 3 employees or 2 employees, or, you know, we've maxed out where we want to be or where we are. And it's just like, man, I'm just letting you know that next step isn't necessarily pretty.
No.
If you can't get your company to a point to where it's sellable, or it can withstand your compensation when you walk away, you know, you either need to stay small or grow to that.
Yep.
There's no in between.
No.
You know, because if any extra growth until you get to the next level, if you don't have enough time to do it, whether you're at the end of your career or beginning of your career, whatever, you know, that's wasted effort in a sense, you know. So you got to really look at how many more years you're going to put into it and try to figure out what your return is going to be in the end.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I think that's kind of the stage we're at now. My dad, for a little bit of time, thought that for some reason I was hard up to get the company to a certain point and sell it off. And it's like, no, that's not what I want to do at all. But do I want to build a company that I know could be sold or could actually have something to it? Absolutely. That means we have a successful company. Like it would, like we have a company that someone would be either interested in buying because we have the growth and we have the numbers to provide that when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I've had people reach out to me and try to obtain me, and it's the best feeling in the world because it shows that you created something of value.
Well, see, that's kind of like, I guess that's slightly what I'm chasing when it comes down to it. Like because my dad's overall arching big plan dream, like his first dream was to have all 3 of his children run the company and take over the company.
Which is here.
Goal accomplished. Like my sister came back into the company. My brother, he went out and did his own thing, joined the military, did that. And then he ended up coming back into the company. So now all 3 of us are running it together. So where it's like, all right, that goal is accomplished. His next goal is he wants it to stay in the family. He looks forward to one of his grandkids taking over. Like my son loves coming down here. Like it is daddy's workhouse. Like daddy's work friends. He absolutely loves coming down here. But my standpoint has always kind of been, of course, I want the company to grow and get to the point where it can be bought, for the sole fact that means that I'm running a successful company. Yeah. And that's the main goal. I want a successful company. Does not mean I want to sell it. Yeah. What it would take to sell is an egregious number to where I know it's not just so for my own personal benefit to where it's like, I know I'm making this. No, my end goal is to make sure that my parents are taken care of. Yeah. If we were to ever get an offer way down the road to where it's like, I know my parents don't have to worry about income no more and they can live the life they want to live. For me not to entertain that, I think is just incompetent in my eyes. It's just negligent. Like it's
can't be closed off. You just have to, at the end of it, make the best decision. So you just,
and then also the caveat that comes along with that too is I would never entertain anything that I thought was going to shortchange or screw anyone over within the company. Like within the fact that I knew that everything's taken care of around to where I know it's just not just being bought for, say, a name or recognition or for just clout. It would be just to keep the company going.
The people that helped you get it to where it's at, make sure they're taken care of as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when you told me about the fact that you had, like, the direction you went, I was like, that's awesome. Like, I got to sit in at the luncheon where Tom Silva from TNT Tint and Jim Black were introduced into the Window Tint Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And sitting and listening to Tom Silva talk about what he did and how he did it and then how he handed his company over to his employees, I was just like, that's awesome.
So honestly, him and how he did it is what triggered my idea. And I had the pleasure of talking to him in Orlando, and he gave me his contact information after I told him what I was thinking about doing. I still haven't reached out to him yet because I want to have a bulletproof conversation. Like I don't want him to ask me a question and I'm be like, I hadn't thought about that. So I'm trying to make sure I have like my foolproof plan. And then if he has, I'm sure he will have a lot of value to add, but I want to be able to take notes at that point. But I just want to know that like my plan is successful because it's different, right? You know, but I'm just really excited to do it. As part of giving back, I have people that out of my 11 years of being open, coming up on 12, I guess, but out of my 11 years of being open, I got people that have been there 6 years, you know, that have told me that this is where they want to end their career. They want to be here. I've given them opportunity because they don't have degrees. I mean, they're making good money. They have company vehicles. There's just a lot of good perks, you know. I like to put it back into the business. But it's just one of those things that like, I honestly still don't want to leave it. Like when I think about like, what am I going to do next? It's still in this industry, but it's just not as an installer.
Yeah.
I want to level up my company. I want to come here, help people that come here, level up their companies. I want to bring everybody up around me. I want to help people think outside the box. That is what gets me excited about going to work every day. But the main thing too is, you know, I got 2 young kids at home and I've built a business that is to a point to where it can operate without me physically there installing. And so the days that I have my kids, I want to be the most present that I can be with my kids.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I got a young girl and she's 9 years old.
Damn.
When she turns 13, she don't want to hang out with dad. That ain't cool no more. You know? And so I just want to make sure that my time with her is the best time that we can possibly have. My son's 3. You know, I got a lot more time with him, you know, because hopefully we're gonna be doing man things, you know, building cars or just whatever he wants to do. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I really want to be present. And so if that pulls me away from being at the shop, that's ultimately what it has to be. And then on the other end of it, like, I don't see me ever retiring, right? Like, I'm still going to want to do something. I don't want to just sit on a couch. So if I'm not riding around in a camper across the country, visiting tint shops and, you know, Yellowstone or just Grand Canyons, whatever it is, like, I definitely want to just be as present as possible.
Yeah, so. No, that's I have the same feeling because it even comes down to when I've talked about it with my dad, because I've told him like kind of like if the company were ever to be bought or acquired or anything like that, like what number I have in my mind that I would want, and it's like, oh, you can't live off that. Like, I'm not looking to live off that. I'm looking to transition off that. I'm not going anywhere. Like, same thing. I would stay in the industry. Like, maybe I would experience the other side of the coin, whichever. I've been approached by a couple of people about like interest with manufacturers. It's like
we've had that.
Yeah, and it's like I'm definitely interested. I am nowhere near in the spot right now where that's anytime soon.
Yeah, I can't.
But I would be interested in it. Like, I definitely would like to learn that side of it when it comes down to it, you know. But again, like I'm nowhere near that. Like the fact that we were able to do the academy, I'm excited to see where it takes us when it comes down to it, you know. Like beyond the fact of like,
I'm excited to be a part of it.
like winning the championship stuff. Like I want to experience the feeling that my dad's experienced. Like I want to train someone who wins. Yeah. That's the next like level up for me is like I trained you and now you won. I mean, all right, validate. Like I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Damn.
My biggest victories in this industry is when I go to a bid and I know who I'm bidding against and I get it. Like that's the biggest victory to me because I've been in so many rooms with so many more powerful companies and we're bidding against stuff and I'm not undercutting in any way, shape, or form. Yep. I'm just proposing them my value. Yep. And I think a lot of times, and it's every level, right? Like, so we're at a certain level, there's people under us that can probably offer more value.
Yep.
Because we're spread thin. And then above us, we can offer more because they're spread so thin. So it's give and take with it. But that is my biggest victory. Like I love that I've been recognized by manufacturers. It's an amazing thing. I love being in the magazines. Like I put them up in my showroom and people read them and they want to talk about them. Makes you feel good. It just lets you know that you did something right. It's clarification that you did something right.
It still feels so weird though. When getting it still does. It's being when we're at shows right now, and then even when it comes to like the content we've been putting out and stuff, and like people walk up and be like, "I listen to the podcast." I'm like, why? To a point, like why? Like I don't know. It's just it's definitely, I guess, when it comes down to imposter syndrome, I don't feel like I'm anyone special. Like I hang film. Like I got really lucky and blessed in the situation I got put into, and like I'm just trying to give back as much as I possibly can. But like I don't like, even when it comes down to it, you saying like you looked at us like, well, we're bigger. Like that goes exactly the same way right back at you. I see the jobs that you're landing and I'm envious. Like those are the jobs I want to go after. Like it just, at the time we have two different types of companies. Yep. And that's where I get my selfish side, is where I get my knowledge, or I get to pick your brain. Like we had the project this past year that we got to bid on. Like you were the first person I called, like, all right, what do I do? Yeah. Like, where should I be looking first? Like, and I have an idea, but at the same time, I'm going to go towards the people I know that are already killing it in that space. And it's like,
in those conversations, as vague as we may feel they are, if you gain one thing out of it, it was a valuable conversation. Because, like if you're bidding on something that's over here and I'm in Georgia, I mean, I have to ask the most basic questions because I have to get a level of knowledge on the scope of the project before I can even fathom giving you advice on it, or vice versa. And so, but no, it's been an amazing journey. The last 10 years, or the last, I'd honestly say probably 5, just being able to be a part of so many positive people in the industry, meeting everybody from, people that run manufacturers to people that make the devices that everybody gets tint tickets from, it's all positive. There's very few negativity that I run across in this industry, because when you get to a certain quality of person that's willing to give back, you can only thrive from it.
No, that was probably the most beautiful thing from this past year that I could say when it comes down to it. Because after the project I'm talking about, like I reached out to you and I reached out to a handful of other people. And then also too, like if I went back about 10 years or so, I don't think I would have reached out to the majority or even talked about the project with the people that I did. Lose it. That's what I was not technically taught, but also what I also witnessed too, growing up in the industry alongside my dad, watching us trying to go after projects. And unfortunately, someone, unfortunately screwing us or going in and undercutting. And it's like, I was having a heart, like an actual meaningful conversation where I thought the trust was there, and it's like, nope, slice your throat. And it's like, no, well, oh well, I got the job. And it's like, thankfully our industry has now gotten to a point where the people that I've talked to, where it's like having a few conversations with them, it's like, you know what? I'll find out what type of person you are when it comes down to it, I feel like I can trust you. And when it comes down to it, you have the same, we are lining up on the same aspect of like, we're looking to grow our industry together. And all the people I've talked to, where it's not.
Well, and to let people understand like the gauge of the project, not saying what it is, but it is one of those projects that your whole entire team, nor my whole entire team, could complete the project.
Oh no.
So when you reach out to quality people, and when you reached out to me, I was like, I have the perfect guy. Like, we got to call him. Yep. That's where the conversation goes. Because my thing is at the point of like, I want you to get it so I can be a part of it. Yep. Because you're going to say, hey man, I need some extra help. I'm going to pack my bag or drop ship my tools, whatever I'm going to do. We're going to agree on a certain thing, and I'm going to show up and we're going to kill it. So that you don't have to land every job. You just want to be a part of the ones that make a difference.
Yep.
Oh
no, absolutely. And I mean, even with bidding on that job, I came to the realization of realizing like I actually have quite a substantial amount of resources when it comes down to it, of like the few people I talk to, and realizing like when it comes down to it, I think I can get like 60 plus installers on this job. Of I might not know all the installers, but the people that I'm putting in key parts of like management or running a certain team, they're telling me like, I have guys, don't worry. And I trust them. And I don't need to know who they're bringing to the table.
Doesn't matter.
Because they told me we're good. And that's all I need to hear.
Yeah. So like right now, we're coming up on January. There are so many grants and so many things out there that people just don't even look at. Yep. They don't even think about. And I won't get into those, but there's so many grants out there. I have over 60 buildings that as soon as the grants come through collectively through the year, as soon as that money's dispersed, the jobs are mine.
Yeah, see, that's the stuff that I'm looking to get after, where that's where, and we've been slowly gauging and
but it's not overnight either. So like, no, I mean, there's projects that you think you might lose, and all of a sudden they're calling you back, so it's one of those things like you help them get the grant money. You make sure that, you do your part to where, your hands are in it. Yep. And then as soon as that job comes through, you're like, hey, grant money's available. When you want to start? And they're like, tomorrow, the next day, whatever. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
But by me saying that though, there's around 60 buildings, but I started bidding them the beginning of last year. And some of them are secondary parts of projects that I've already done that they ran out of the grant money. So they just have to wait. Like those bids are there and they don't want to pay for them. So it's just,
we're waiting for that to come through.
Sitting on the table. And as soon as it's there, we're good to go.
No, that's probably one of the best things that I've come to realize and learn from everybody in the Panorama Network, from like Tom Foster and everybody else throughout the years. When it comes to landing those projects, like those aren't like, oh, I'm going to go in and within 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to get going. No. Those jobs take sometimes years, if not 6 months plus years to land. But it's how much you got to be willing to invest the time and keep going after it, keep providing the worth for it, because they're either waiting for either their budget to come in, a grant to come in, whatever it need be, to where it's, if you keep watering it, eventually it comes to fruition, then you get to land that one.
My first 7-figure project that I did, 6-figure project, not 7-figure project. My first 6-figure project that I did, about 3 months after I initially bid it, I had to fly out to where it was, get a hotel, have my manufacturer drop ship film to it. I had to bring a select amount of tools, install 5 large samples, wait till the next day, meet with people, and go over those different films and explain to them how they work, what the benefit was, possible ROIs, like just have a bunch of information. And I thought when I left there, I was like, I got it. It's mine. It wasn't.
Yeah.
About 2 months after that, I got a call that I had to be up there within like 48 hours to meet with whoever that person's boss was. And I made it happen. I showed up. It's the biggest inconvenience probably of my life at the time. But I was there. And when I left from that meeting, it's like, the job is mine. I got it. It was like crickets for about 2 months. And then finally go to my email, all this paperwork that I had to fill out, just everything under the sun I had to fill out. And at the end of it, they sent me a purchase order. They said, let's go.
Yeah. And
it was just amazing. But I mean, I had a lot of time invested into it. Yep. It was just, you have to put a lot of effort in something. There's a lot of small companies out there that, I mean, it's huge risk.
Yep.
I've only told a few people this, but this past year, I got the ability to bid on some things that were out of my league. And I I'm in Vegas now, but I gambled 100% of my business on landing these jobs. And I did. I got them, and we're in a really good place because of it. But, you know, I don't recommend that for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's high risk, high reward.
Yeah. And then also, too, I think you're shortchanging the fact of how much you have, knowledge you have in the industry of how likely you were to land those jobs when it comes down to it. Your ability to piece all those different connections together, I think that's probably the biggest thing I get to gain from every conversation we have is your networking ability. When it comes down to it, your connections and how you look at certain situations and connect them together is just, every time we have a conversation, I gain something from it.
And vice versa. So definitely appreciate that. So.
Yeah, no, and I really do appreciate this friendship, and I really do appreciate you coming out, man.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think that's probably the best spot in there to wrap this up and me say thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Till many more years.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. You know how this works. Follow along, subscribe, comment, share. We appreciate all the love. Check us out next time on the next episode. Have a good one.
Have a good night.